All-Star Western number 4, 5, and 6 all had backup stories relating to each other of The Barbary Ghost, written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, art by Phil Winslade. It is a story of a young woman who becomes a character totally original, as far as I can tell, named The Barbary Ghost. So, just jumping into it, it is 1878 in San Francisco, red light district. A bunch of Chinese men. This entire book is just Chinese culture the whole way through. So a bunch of men are making their way through some housing, and they're saying how they were caught off guard by this ghostly woman, and she is dangerous, and she came out of nowhere. And one of the guys is like, Psh, I don't believe in no ghosts, when of course she appears and puts a hatchet through that guy's head. So she starts pulling out some like powers, like her hand starts glowing. They pull out some guns and start trying to fire, but she unleashes some weird, like, I don't know, power? Like, it's just, she sets fire to a bunch of stuff, and it all comes from her hands. So, it never really explains how she does that. So, just some form of chemicals. Unless she is an actual ghost, but she isn't, as we find out later. But here it seems like she is. So, anyway, she's looking for a man named Bo Long, and all these men work for Bo Long, and they're not about to give up their boss. But as she starts killing them and setting fire to things, one of the guys is about to give up the location of Bo, and he gets shot in the back by another one of the men. And just everyone starts firing on her. She uses the one guy as a human shield, uses her weird hand explosive thing to bring down the roof, and seemingly everyone dies in the rubble. So she makes her way out carrying all their guns and brings it back home to her grandfather. And her grandfather tells her, like, you are playing a very dangerous game here. You need to stop. And she's like, I'm not going to stop until I kill Bo Long. And he's like, fine, whatever. Just get some rest, and we'll talk about this in the morning. And then we get the whole backstory on what happened. Apparently, it was the Sen family, T-S-E-N, that they were a member of. It was 9 of them to start with. They moved from China to America to just start a new life. But as they came to America and set up their own shop, Bo Long's group of basically just, it was a mafia. They came in saying they offered protection services, and they had to pay $100 every month, or else they would take the daughter of the family and put her in a brothel in order to make up the difference. And the father was not having this. He smacks the guy across the face and tells him to leave, calls him a thief, and the whole family talks for a bit, and they're like, well, maybe we should pay him because he controls the side of town. And the father's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to Bo Long as a businessman and face to face, and we're going to sort this thing out. So he goes, and his family's like, yeah, Dad doesn't back down from nothing, but like he really should have. So we cut over to Bo Long's estate, and the guy who got slapped comes up, and he's like, yeah, so he slapped me across the face, called me a thief, and I didn't want to retaliate without your direct order. And Bo Long's like, oh, he slapped you? That's practically the same as slapping me. Yeah, no, we're going to break his fingers and cut off his tongue. Let's go find this guy. And of course, knock, knock, knock on the door. There's Wei Sen, the father, just like, hi, I'm the guy who just smacked that guy. I'd like to have a word with you. Cue the next page. He's thrown in through the window, and he was dead before he even hits the ground. His family is shocked and freaked out by this, and I guess I say thrown through the window of their shop. And one of the sons comes out with the hatchet, and he's like, I will avenge our father. And he goes and he throws the hatchet, lands it in one of the goons' head. So then the guy who got smacked just shoots the son in the head, and now he's dead as well. And we see that over the course of this little squabble between them, 5 of these sons were murdered within 2 weeks. And in response, 8 of the goons were killed. So, of course, Bo Long feels that he has gotten the worst end of this deal, and therefore has to make an example of the Sen family. So the only ones who are left are the mother, the grandfather, and the daughter. And they realize, all right, we just got to get out of town. There's a small place outside the city. Let's just pack our stuff and go. And the daughter and the grandfather head out, but the mother has to stay behind to pay some of the vendors for the shop. And on the one day where she stayed behind in order to deal with this, group of men come in, The mother stands up for herself, or at least that's what the grandfather believes in flashback. But in the end, the shop is burned down, and they return the next day when she didn't come back. See, it's been burnt down, and an old man local comes up and is just like, "We heard her. I'm so sorry. She's gone." And the daughter says, "All right, cool. We're gonna go for revenge. Let's go. Let's go kill him." And the grandfather's like, "No, no, no. We're gonna plan this out, and we're gonna do it right." And we see this old abandoned building that the granddaughter, and the grandfather are setting up dynamite and explosives to basically, they're going to fake their death is what they got to do. The only way that they're going to be able to escape Bo and truly do something about it is if he stops looking for them, if he believes they're dead. So the next day, the daughter goes outside of Bo Long's estate and calls him a coward and a lowlife, and basically, takes away his honor. And Bo Long sends his guys out to kill her. And they give chase over to this abandoned building. And as soon as she gets inside, they set off the dynamite. And she manages to escape via, they just say, some potato sacks and some longboards. I don't know how that relates, but they somehow manage to live through it and they escape. So present day, we find out that the granddaughter knows that Bo Long has gone into hiding, and it's because of her reputation as the Barbary ghost. And the grandfather's like, "Look, he doesn't fear you. He fears this idea of a ghost. You're still human. Please remember that." And she's like, "Yeah, well, he fears the ghost, and I am the ghost, so therefore I'm going to go kill him." So we cut to the guy who's just been like the main goon this whole time, went and talked to Bo Long, and he's like, "Dude, you're not supposed to follow me. This ghost chick is like out to get me, and we're only supposed to communicate via whatever means." And he's like, "Yeah, but I took all these back tunnels. There's no way she followed me." And then he looks out the window and sees her standing on an opposite rooftop with a flaming arrow. And she fires the arrow in through the window. It goes through the goon's arm, and he's like, whoa, hold on, before you start screaming, there's something on the end of that arrow. Maybe it's a note. And he takes a look and he's like, "Nope, it's a bomb. Sorry." And he pushes the guy out the window where he explodes. And a couple of goons are looking up. He's like, did our guy just explode in the air? How did that happen? And as they're distracted, the Barbary ghost comes up and starts slashing through all the people. Bo looks out the window, sees this, and is like, "All right, we gotta go." So as she gets up to the room, Bo's already long gone, but the women who were held captive in there are freed by her, and she's like, she tells them, like, "Okay, does anybody here know where Bo went?" And one woman chimes up, like, "Wait a minute, are you real? Are you like a real person?" He's like, "Yes, I'm a real person. Killed my family." He's like, "Oh, are you the Sen girl?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, your mother's still alive. Like, she worked with us. She was captive of Bo." And she's like, "My mom's still, do you know where she is?" And he's like, "Yeah, I also know where Bo went, so I will tell you everything." And as she told her everything, apparently Bo was hopping on a next train out of town. So very quickly, her and her grandfather made a plan in order to deal with that. And we see her in her just normal civilian outfit, and she asks to share a seat with Bo. And Bo explains how he got this table on the train with all the white people because he's so rich and powerful. And she just basically just straight out the gate, she's like, "Yeah, by the way, we've met before. You killed my whole family. I have a gun underneath the table and I'm going to shoot you." And he's like, "Psh, you think you can just shoot me? You'd be arrested as soon as you arrive." And he's like, "Yeah, probably." Bang, shoots him in the crotch. And then she holds the gun up to his head and is like, "Now, where's my mom? Tell me where my mom is, or I swear to God, I will shoot you in a lot more painful places." And he's like, "I'm never going to tell you anything. I sold her. And she's going to be turning tricks with those carnival freaks." And she's like, "All right, that's enough info." Bang, shoots him in the head. And then she goes out the side of the train, jumps off where the grandfather's waiting with a horse. And they both ride off to their own safety as she reminisces that the idea of the Barbary ghost is going to be more and more useful in the days to come. But now she knows her mother is alive and the journey is just beginning. I think it's a good intro for a new character. I think it does a solid job of setting it all up and doing whatever it is she wants to do. But I also feel that because we killed the character who was quite literally responsible for her entire personality, this early on, I feel like they're kind of kneecapping any sort of future stories they could tell with the character. Literally, the only thing that's left in her revenge story is getting her mother back. And then once that happens, it's just done. I don't know. It just feels, from an outside looking in, while it may be a cool character to tell a story about, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of story there left to tell. Like, you should have kept the bow thing going a bit longer. As for the story on its own, it's fine. I give it like somewhat of a thumbs up. It's passable. The art is also pretty good. It's not quite house style. It's got a bit of stylism to it, but it's still pretty much just your average styled art. Just a bit more detailed in some places and a bit more of a, I want to say colorist is what's really selling it, more so than the penciler or the inker, but that's just in a couple of the more moody scenes with the fights. So, yeah, it's fine. It's nothing fantastic. I can see why they didn't continue on with this character really beyond that, but hey, it's not every character can take off, so it's good enough as it is as just a backup story.